Hey.
All right. So I guess now you understand what the plan was.
Absolutely. At Colts Law, we talk Indianapolis Colts football.
We're going to stick to what we know, fundamentals and technique, 1% better every day.
All right. So I guess now you understand what the plan was.
Absolutely. At Colts Law, we talk Indianapolis Colts football.
We're going to...
Hey, what's going on, everybody? All right, I'd like to welcome those of you that are actually watching right now on YouTube and Sportscaster. I have to say that was pretty quick. I seen some people jump on here awfully fast, man. I appreciate everybody being here. As you see, the new background, this isn't actually my bedroom. All right, I got in contact with somebody, myself and somebody else, and he sent me a picture of his room. So shout out to you. You know who you are. This is awesome. I love the fact that this is a beautiful, beautiful man cave bedroom that he's got set up. And for him to give me permission to actually use this as a background is absolutely amazing. As many of you know, I had my house burned down a few years back and lost all of my Colts memorabilia. So for this to actually have, you know, part of this is absolutely wonderful. So I appreciate that a lot. Now, I kind of wanted to go over a couple things. Like I say in the title here, I want to go over some of the news that's happened over this past week. As you know, we're into the phase 2 of practice. And to give a little bit of insight, I'm going to go into what Andrew Walker on Colts.com has written out, explaining it a little bit. And he says that phase 2 practice, well, you know, obviously the COVID-19 led to changes in the way the teams held their prospective training camps. And the NFL and the NFLPA agreed to make the first couple weeks more of an abbreviated offseason. More for workout, strength and conditioning is mainly being the focus of week 1. And then it picks up a little bit more in week 2, kind of resembling actual practice with guys in helmets. But there's no contact, no team drills, individual drills. So the last 2 days have mostly featured offenses on the field, defenses on the field, working through individuals. Yet on Thursday, T.Y. Hilton made his return to practice. Just a day removed, being taken off the non-football injury list. And, you know, he had an interview the prior. They said, when are you going to be taking off? He said, shortly. Sure enough, he came off that really quick. Among guys to the Colts, guys snapping to the 4 Colts quarterbacks on Thursday was Ryan Kelly, Jake Eldencramp, Javon Patterson, and rookie Danny Pinner, believe it or not, was actually doing snaps to the quarterbacks. Let me see here. The last couple of years, coaches have used gauntlet drills, which members of the coaching staff form 2 lines and use various pads and sticks to try to poke a ball out of a wide receiver running back hands as they try to run through them. They added a couple wrinkles to that gauntlet, and now after the player clears the gauntlet, they're faced with a fast-approaching exercise ball to work on their stiff arm. And they face their final boss, where Nick Sirianni is holding American Gladiator pads and tries another swipe for the ball as the player dives onto the mat. And, yeah. But the quarterbacks get a pass on that last whole diving part, apparently. I think that's pretty cool. I think that's really, really neat. I have a feeling that Tom Rathman had a lot to do with this, right? Especially with fumbles that happened last season by wide receivers. Not necessarily the running backs. I think we had 1 fumble, and it was Naheem Hines last season. Had some fumbles from tight ends and wide receivers, though. Especially after big games, and they want to really knock that down a little bit. First-year wide receivers coach Mike Groh had his players going through a new drill where receivers form two single file lines. They get in their stance and then they have to break out of their stance as quick as possible to get off the snap. Now, this is seen as common with defensive linemen, but you don't see that with wide receivers all the time. Another thing that was seen was Groh actually had cones out on the field, forcing his wide receivers to go through specific route running techniques. And you don't see that a lot. This is a basic drill. But when you have, this is very, very big for a quarterback, because now a wide receivers now, and even running backs who run routes, tight ends, they're going to go through these routes along these drills, specifically the way the cones are actually put out. And because of that, the quarterback will know specifically when and where these players will be in their routes when he goes through his progressions. This is huge for a new quarterback who doesn't understand how certain wide receivers run routes, the speed in which they run the routes, things of that nature. So this is a big, big bonus that Groh has put on for the wide receivers, specifically just for quarterback Phillip Rivers' benefit, I believe, but it'll pay dividends when you come into week one, right? Because many of you know guys like T.Y. Hilton, he's not a traditional route runner, so to speak. He just goes out there and gets open. But even he has to go out there and run these routes specifically so that Rivers knows where he's at. So I think this is a big bonus. I think later on through the season, T.Y. will be able to go into his regular route running that he's so famous for, being able to get open on his own. And through that time of spending with him, I think Rivers will kind of get a feel for T.Y. Hilton and be able to find him a little easier than with the shortened amount of time that he's had so far this training camp. Let me look what else we got here, because there's been a few things that was said. Yesterday's big had players wearing helmets and shells, was the first of the year to feature some actual team drills. There was a lengthy 11-on-11 sessions between the offense and defense, 7-on-7s, and a few special team portions of practice. When it came down to the first 11-on-11 session, pitting the number one offense against the number one defense, quarterback Phillip Rivers wasn't shy to sling the ball all over the place. Apparently on the very first play of the day, Rivers found Doyle for a short completion on the right side. Later on, Doyle apparently, as you know, sure-handed Doyle had a sweet sliding catch in heavy traffic on a quick dart from Rivers. And when I say dart, that means a lot, right? Because a lot of people say that Rivers don't have that arm strength anymore. And if he's able to throw really quick into tight coverage, that shows promise. Second-year safety, Khari Willis, did everything he could do in coverage. But the fact that Rivers was able to pinpoint a really quick throw to earn about 10 yards shows a lot of big promise, big promise. Apparently, Rivers also launched a really deep pass down the middle of the field to Paris Campbell, who was able to get by safety Khari Willis and haul in what would have been a long touchdown reception. He gave a lot of big flashes last year, even though he was injury-plagued. He didn't get to play nearly as much as what we would all hope for. You could actually go to Twitter and check out the Indianapolis Colts. They have a little flight attendants, please prepare for departure. A little film of Paris Campbell during training this week. He looks as fast as he ever has, and I'm really excited to see him. He's one of my breakout candidates this year, so hopefully we'll be able to see more of him. I want to thank Rock Me Baby, Let Me Be Frank, and Ramalam Britt for joining me here on Sportscaster. Appreciate you guys. Don't forget, please hit that like button, give me a follow, and share this stream. That way others can see this. I don't have a huge exposure radius, so any shares on your guys' social media is a huge benefit to me, so I appreciate it a lot. And obviously, likes are a huge deal. It helps me with YouTube algorithms, get this shared out on YouTube. And then don't forget to follow me on Sportscaster and be subscribed here on YouTube. That way you're notified next time I go live. Let's talk about a little bit else that went on yesterday. Willis got a revenge on that long touchdown pass later when Rivers tried to thread the needle off his back foot to Zach Pascal down the sideline. But cornerback Rocky Sin was step for step with Pascal, and Willis was able to sprint over and snag an interception. And he was able to keep his feet, both of them, in bounds to complete the interception. Chad Kelly, Jacob Eason split number 3 quarterback reps on Friday as well. Now, obviously, without the benefit of preseason games, these are opportunities during training camp, practices, and stuff of that nature to show off how good they are in their positional meetings. And it's going to be huge, because this is all they got. The coaches have to work with to see who they might want to keep if they decide to keep 3 quarterbacks for the regular season this year. Will it be Chad Kelly, or will it be that draft pick Jacob Eason, who in my opinion should win out because Eason's just, his arm talent is so darn good. Autry had a nice sack apparently of Rivers coming off the edge. This is a new look for Danico Autry, who has played a lot of 3-tech over the first 2 seasons. And with the addition of DeForest Buckner and Sheldon Day, they put Danico out on the edge, and he actually got a would-be sack. Obviously, this is training camp. The quarterback's got those red shirts. You can't touch him. But flat of the matter is, Autry apparently showed off a lot of quickness and was able to get there. Also, Tyquan Lewis made a heck of a big tackle for loss on Jonathan Taylor on a rushing attempt from his 3-tech. A lot of you might forget about Tyquan Lewis. He's been injured these last couple seasons. He's coming off a fresh off season, hoping that he'll be able to shake that injury bug this year and maybe step up and become something a little bit bigger in this Colts defense. To show that he was able to get in on Jonathan Taylor and hit him for a big loss is a huge deal. Many of you are, and myself included, very high on Jonathan Taylor, knowing that he's able to bring it right on the field when he's carrying the football. So Tyquan Lewis showing that kind of ability is exceptional in my opinion, because we need all the defense we can. I would rather the defense beat up on the offense than the offense be able to beat up on the defense, quite frankly, because we know what we have running the game, right? And if our defense is able to stop our own run game, holy crap, right? That means that our defense is really, really good too, because we all know we have a top 5 run game. At least I believe we do. And if our defense is able to stop it, that just means huge implications for the season coming up. What's up, Eagle season? Appreciate you being here, man. Also, David96 on Sportscaster. Appreciate you being here as well. Kenny Moore, as many of you know who are Colts fans, Eagle season, you may not know this. Kenny Moore is one of the best blitzing corners in the NFL. He apparently snuck up on the line of scrimmage without Rivers right at the last second. Saw him and pointed him out, and it still didn't matter. Moore was able to avoid the block and get in on Rivers on a would-be sack on a blitz from the cornerback position. Now, if you don't know, right now, Moore is second in the NFL among all quarterbacks for sacks over the last 2 seasons. Jonathan Taylor, fastest running back of all running backs that came into last year's draft. He showed off speed on a particular play yesterday as well, hauling a pass from Rivers on a crossing route and just took it all the way, right? 80-yard catch and run, basically, from Rivers. No one on the defense was able to catch him. And who was leading? Who was leading the way for Jonathan Taylor on that quick little outgo? Quentin Nelson. Who do you think? Quentin Nelson was leading the way. He saw Taylor catch the ball. He took off and started running downfield to make sure Taylor was untouched on that run. Now, you see this in regular season, but to see Quentin Nelson do this in practice shows that some guys out there, even your top dogs, when they're out there giving their 110% on the field, that makes all the other guys, your second-tier guys, your third-tier guys, even everyone, even the other guys who are sure starters and aren't afraid of losing their position because, I mean, obviously, Quentin Nelson's not afraid of losing his position. He's out there giving 110%. That's going to make everybody else practice hard as well. And you ask any coach, you will only play as hard as you practice. So this is a big benefit, man. John Danemark. Kenny Moore's your favorite corner. Nelson is a beast. I agree. Now, I'll tell you what. I love Kenny Moore. I love his aggressiveness. I love how hard he practices and studies film on the guys that he's getting ready to practice. I want you to keep your eye on Xavier Rhodes. All right, the last couple seasons, Xavier Rhodes has had a lot of issues with injuries, which once those injuries crept up on him during the season, his play started to suffer because they were lower body. Had to do with a lot of the speed and agility. Wait until this season. If he's able to have a healthy season, if he's able to stay healthy, he's a lockdown corner out there, I'm telling you. When he was healthy last year, I watched tape on him, and early in the season, he had to play against Julio Jones, and he held Julio Jones to like 2 catches for 31 yards. Early in the season, he had to play against Watson and Hill over in Kansas City, and between those two guys, while he was covering both of those guys, he only gave up a total of 2 catches for 28 yards, no touchdowns on the guys that he was covering. All right, that is an impressive feat. And if he's healthy, he's going to make a really good number 1 corner. Not to mention he's a veteran, right? He knows what it takes to be an all-pro because he was an all-pro. So his knowledge and experience is going to help guys like T.J. Carey, like Rock Ya-Sin, like Kenny Moore. So his presence on the field is going to be a huge benefit to the Colts secondary this season. I just hope that Matt Eberflus, the defensive coordinator, will understand that at times we need to go more into man defense than zone defense, because the zone defense makes this defense look so much worse than it actually is. I get it. I get what the zone defense is for. It's for 2 reasons. Number 1, obviously, it makes a team go methodical. You make a team throw and make the easy completions underneath, and then you come up and make a tackle, and you make them do that over and over and over, like 9, 10, 11, 12 times in a drive in order to score, which most teams aren't able to do that. So, that eats clock, right? You make a team eat clock. You make a team do that, which lessens how long they're on the field. Also, a zone defense is huge for when you have scrambling quarterbacks like Deshaun Watson, like Lamar Jackson, like Patrick Mahomes, guys like that, Russell Wilson, where you got all your defensive backs, their eyes are in the backfield watching the quarterback, and if he decides to take off, they're able to run down and make a tackle so he don't get too many yards once he decides to go out, take off scrambling. But man-to-man is so important also. Man-to-man is definitely important, especially if you're running a blitz, whether it's a run blitz or a pass blitz. If you're blitzing to stop the run, that's leaving your guys out there on an island. You need to make sure that you play man press, especially if you're blitzing for the quarterback. If you send an overload blitz, if you send, say, 6 people on a blitz, and you got all the lanes clogged, so that the quarterback is not going to have anywhere to go because you got guys on the outside and every hole in the middle. You need guys on the outsides playing man-to-man press bump. That way the quarterback has nowhere to throw that football quick. He has to take off running. And that's where the blitzers will come in and get their guy. So I'm hoping that Matt Eberflus uses the new talent that he has, especially with DeForest Buckner, when him and Grover Stewart are on the field together side by side, because Grover's great at eating blocks. Obviously, DeForest Buckner can handle his blocks as well. And then you got blitzers plus your rushers such as Justin Houston, Kimoko Toure, Muhammad, Danico Autry, as I mentioned earlier. These guys, they're gonna get home a lot more than what you expect, especially when you're seeing obvious passing downs. So, rookie defensive back Rob Windsor had a solid blitz effort yesterday as well, breaking through the line and earning a potential sack on quarterback Jacoby Brissett. 6th rounder out of Penn State earned the first bump from defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus. First fist bump for his efforts. EJ Speed, which is nice to hear his name. Don't hear him very often. Picked off Ryan Kelly on 7-7 work. Major tip of the cap goes to fellow Zaire Franklin on the play, who was able to stretch and get his big hands on the ball to knock it into the air, where in which EJ Speed was able to pick it off. All right, let's see what else. Okay, so there was a sprint on the field. Remember back earlier, I don't know if you follow me. I don't know if you follow me on Twitter, but if you don't, please, down here in the description where it says show more, click that. You'll see that I have a Twitter feed down there. You can click that and follow me on Twitter. Earlier I said, hey, I'd love to see a race, a 40-year-old yard race against some of the faster guys. And apparently in this camp, at the very end of practice, players run quick sprints from one sideline to the other and then back, right? Well, apparently during this, on Friday, at the end of practice, they were doing this, and Darius Leonard and Michael Pittman Jr., the rookie wide receiver, jumped out to huge leads on everyone else, and they looked across at each other, and then they just went wild and just started going all out, racing against each other, and turning it into an all-out race by the end. And apparently, it was too close to determine the winner of that. Darius Leonard and Michael Pittman Jr. were racing like heck. Now, this says a lot to me because we all know that Michael Pittman Jr. ran a 4.52, but Darius Leonard ran like a 4.7 something, right? And everybody's like, well, he's too slow to play. Obviously, he's faster than that if he's able to run side by side with Michael Pittman Jr., okay? That says a lot. He was hurt during his workouts during the combine of his draft, and that says a lot. Wide receivers coach Mike Groh seems to place a major emphasis on his players being exactly where they need to be, like I said earlier about the cones. And quarterbacks, running backs, and offensive line were conducting handoff drills earlier, also in that day, setting up by various run plays, with new fullback out of Pittsburgh Steelers, Roosevelt Nix, getting into the mix. They would, at least one snap, running backs coach Tom Rathman would line up at fullback and went through the drills with them. Tom Rathman, old man Tom Rathman, when you have a guy who's considered one of the best fullbacks in the NFL out there taking those drills with you, showing you this is what you need to do, that's going to be a huge benefit for your fullbacks and running backs. Desert Rover, thanks for joining the stream. Will playing zone help Xavier Rhodes? I think so. I think that playing zone will help him at first. They were asked this in an interview a while back. They asked Xavier Rhodes, what do you think of playing more zone since Matt Eberflus likes playing zone so much? And he responded saying, it's easier. I don't have to think as much playing zone. All I got to do is watch the quarterback and make sure of anyone that comes anywhere near me in my zone, rather than playing man-to-man. So I think it will help him a little bit. But I think he's still got the body and the talent to do man-to-man when he's called to do it. And Desert Rover also says, with Tell gone, do you think we need to look at free agency for another quarterback, especially after teams make their cuts? That's a possibility. Where do you think we got Kenny Moore, right? It was after the cuts. New England had him. And they did not want to get rid of him. Bill Belichick even said, I really hated getting rid of Kenny Moore, but because of the depth and how strong they were at the cornerback position, they had to let him go. And Frank Reich, Chris Ballard jumped on it, grabbed him up, and look what he's became for the Indianapolis Colts. So I think you are dead on it, Desert Rover, over on Sportscaster, who asked this question. I think you're dead on it. Don't worry about jumping out and grabbing. Yes, you can bring some guys in, do some workouts like they have been doing this week. Working guys out at the cornerback position with Tell and the other guy who also decided to opt out this season. But quite frankly, wait until the 53's out, and then once the 53 is cut, make sure that obviously Chris Ballard has his scouts out there, right? And he's watching. Now, he can't go to their practices and watch, but he knows who's out there, right? He's seen practices from college last year, the tapes and stuff to watch from college. He's seen the tape from the combine, pro days, things of that nature. So he's probably got an eye on specific people that he would think would be a good fit for Matt Eberflus's scheme. So expect to see that someone picked up after the cut down to 53 happens. At least that's my opinion. Ty Shelby, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Like I said, hey, actually, who was it? I'm sorry. Let me try to figure out who it was again that directs. Cactus Moose 12. That's actually his room out off of Reddit. So he shared it on Reddit, I think, last year or the year before, and I got in contact with him, and we talked, and he gave me permission to use this room, actually. He told me that if I wanted, he could take different angle pictures and stuff like that if I needed. But, man, I love this. I love this background. This is awesome. I wish I had this myself. I don't. Like I said earlier in the stream, my house burnt down about 5 years ago, and all my memorabilia went with it. It's just now gotten to the point over the last year where I'm able to start collecting new memorabilia, clothing, stuff like that. That's where this baseball shirt came from. I just purchased it not too long ago. It was like $60 freaking dollars. But I as soon as I saw it, I loved it. Had to have it. So yeah. All right, John Danemark. I do think we can play man better this season, and I believe Rhodes will play man better than zone. I think Rhodes is used to playing man. That's what he did a lot of over in Minnesota, right? He played a lot of man over there in Minnesota. But so he's not used to playing more zone. And like I said, he says it's easier to play zone, so he'll do really good. But when it's time to go play man, that's what Xavier's used to. So expect him to do well. All right. So far, man, I love all the comments and questions and stuff. So thank you all for joining. Don't forget, man, share this out. I'd appreciate it a lot. Let's go and take a look at some of the old... Oh, yeah. Justin Houston was actually interviewed yesterday. And he was asked a specific question, and I thought his answer to it was perfect. All right. He was asked, how does the addition of DeForest Buckner, how does the addition of him on this defensive line affect you? And his answer is exactly what I've been saying this whole time. He said, DeForest Buckner is going to demand double teams. With him there at the 3-tech, the guard will have to go in his direction before he goes to Justin Houston's direction. Right? And Justin Houston says, I still got plenty of the tank and I can win one-on-one. So that's what I've been saying this whole time, right? I love his enthusiasm about that, thinking that, he will be that guy. I still think that Justin will definitely get his double digits in sacks. I think if Kamoko Toure stays healthy, I think he gets double digits in sacks as well. Dane Mark, do you think the Colts will make it to the Super Bowl this season if we play up to how good we could do? That's the question, right? Are we going to be able to play up to expectations? Will Phillip Rivers play up to expectations behind a good offensive line? Will the wide receivers stay healthy for the season, unlike they have been the last couple, right? If Paris Campbell can stay relatively healthy, if T.Y. Hilton can stay relatively healthy, if Michael Pittman Jr. can play up even to 75% of what his total potential can be, because obviously rookie wide receivers usually don't play to their full potential that first year because it takes a while for them to get to that NFL speed, understanding how to play against NFL corners, because it's just a different monster playing in the NFL than it is in college. Excuse me, but I would love to see that. Jonathan Taylor's going to take a little bit of time as well to get in the mix. But with the idea of thinking that Phillip Rivers always has a bounce back season after he has 18 or more interceptions, which he's done 3 times in his career, and then the following year he ends up having a Pro Bowl type season where he's either made the Pro Bowl or the All-Pro, I could see the Colts not only winning the division, but scaring some people in the playoffs. Because who are the top 2 teams in the league right now? Right? Baltimore, Kansas City. Now, last year we proved, the Colts proved as a team they could beat Kansas City. All they got to do is run the ball down their throats and play good coverage against Patrick Mahomes. Get some pressure on him. Kamoko Toure and Justin Houston got all kinds of pressure on Patrick Mahomes last year in that playoff game, until obviously Kamoko Toure got hurt and on the season-ending injury. And then Baltimore, they rely on the run game. And last year, the Colts, I think, were 7th in the NFL in yards per carry allowed, at like 4.1 or something like that per carry. And I believe the addition of DeForest Buckner is just going to help that, because Buckner is a great run stopper, great at clogging lanes and disrupting run lanes in the backfield. And he's going to provide pressure up the middle, which is what you want to do against guys like Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. You want to get pressure up the middle, because you don't want them to be able to step up out of problems and then take off forward and start scrambling for yards. You want them to have to back up into the rush lanes of your defensive ends. That's what you want to do. And that's why having a guy like DeForest Buckner up the middle is so important to Matt Eberflus's scheme, right? That's why. That's why in 2006, that defense made a big turn. Everybody wants to say, well, it was Bob Sanders. You got to remember, Booger McFarland came in, okay? And he provided that pressure up the middle, which forced quarterbacks to step back and into the rush lanes of Dwight Freeney and Robert Mathis. Not to mention, yes, having a guy like Bob Sanders who was able to come up and make huge hits on running backs. We got Corey Willis now. The guy seems like a bigger Bob Sanders to me. Now, granted, he doesn't hit like Bob Sanders. Bob Sanders is one of a kind. Of course, he got injured a lot. But Corey Willis has that same kind of instinct, right? And is able to take off on instinct the way you saw Bob Sanders do. So, I fully expect this team will do really, really well against both Baltimore and Kansas City if they face either one of them in the playoffs. Reese, KFN, welcome to the stream, my guy. Thanks for joining. Watching Paris Campbell's routes in training camp is getting me hyped. If he can stay healthy, I think this would be a big season for him. Yes, I agree. I predicted him to be the offensive breakout player of the year for the Colts. I think he could easily get 800 yards being a slot receiver because Phillip Rivers likes to throw quick out routes. That's why his tight ends and his running backs got the ball so much when he was a Charger, right? He liked those quick out routes. And when you got a guy like Paris Campbell, who is 6 foot tall, he's not short. He's an average height for a wide receiver, but runs a 4.2 40. He can run a drag route and already have a step on somebody in the first half a second of the route, which is an easy quick out pass that Phillip Rivers can do, and then Campbell can just take that for yak yardage. Don't forget, there's also rub routes and scissor routes and stuff like that that Paris Campbell can do for deep out passes. All Paris Campbell has to do is stay healthy and hold on to that football while he's got it. You've seen him fumble the ball twice last year off of catches. Now, granted, they were at the end of his runs. It was sad, especially the one in Pittsburgh, because he broke out. The one in Miami should have been a touchdown had he not tripped over his own feet. Actually, my guys Zach Hicks and Jake Arthur did a stream covering that specific play against Miami last year. I hate talking about Miami on that game because it was just awful with Brian Hoyer quarterbacking that game. It was just something you don't want to see. But, I mean, you just see the explosion that Paris Campbell has when he's healthy, right? We want to see him healthy this season. And if I think he can be healthy, I think he could have a lot of huge potential this season. Everybody's like, Michael Pittman, that's the kind of wide receiver that Phillip Rivers likes to throw to, the big guy who could go up and catch the 50-50 balls. Yes, that's what he typically likes to go to when he's down in a game in the fourth quarter. You see him throwing up 50-50 balls, and that's where he gets a lot of his interceptions because he's down by 2 scores in the fourth quarter, and he's forcing the ball downfield to his big wide receivers. Does that mean he's not going to use that against while he's with the Colts? No, not necessarily. I mean, obviously, Pittman's also got speed and size. There'll be times when throwing that ball will be proper for Rivers to throw. But I don't think he'll be forced to do that near as much because the Colts are almost never down double digits in the fourth quarter, right? The Colts are always close in games or well ahead. Save the Saints game last year. That was an awful game I don't even want to talk about. But I think with the run game and the short, quick passing game, I think play action will be there for guys like T.Y. and Pittman and Campbell down the field. R.C. Holmes, do I have any idea where I can purchase a Colt sofa? Have you... Are you in Indiana? Because if you're in Indiana, there's a possibility you could go to like one of the Colt shops and maybe talk to them about possibly taking a Colt sofa that you already have and maybe reupholstering it with Colts logos. You might get a hold of somebody and see about that, or you could, if you have any kind of skill doing that yourself, maybe you could just get a sheet of Colt stuff and reupholster it that way yourself. It just really takes a puller and a solid staple gun. Oh, I'm sorry, RC. Well, then the second part would be what I would go with, because I personally don't know of anywhere where you can order one, but I think making one on your own might be the way to go. You might even just not even have to reupholster, just upholster over the current upholstery of whatever couch you have. It'd be a cheaper and easier way to go about that. Yeah, that Pittsburgh play was hard to see. If he didn't trip, that would have easily been a touchdown. He had the block behind. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. 7 people watching. Has everybody here clicked that like button? Right? Is everybody here share on your social media. And don't forget, guys, please share. Please subscribe. I started this out being 5 away from 500 subscribers. Desert Rover again, still over there talking with me over on Sportscaster. Sorry, guys. Rivers and the Chargers had the number 3 DVOA rated offense in the NFL. And that was behind the 30th ranked offensive line. People who are dissing Rivers because of last year are going to eat crow. Agreed. And I've given multiple reasons for that already. And that what you just gave another one. So appreciate you, my guy. Appreciate you. 2018, yeah. I get that. But like I said, every time he's had a season where he has thrown 18 or more interceptions, he ends up dropping that interception rate down the next season. He's not going to have to throw them deep balls, right? Being down and throwing most of his interceptions was because he was down in games in the fourth quarter. He's throwing deep trying to make the big play to score. He won't have to do that this season, right? He could be a little more picky and choosy with the guys that he's throwing the football to. Isaac of Isaac Sports over here on Sportscaster. Thank you for joining the stream. Do you think Malik Hooker is overrated? RC Holmes asks over on YouTube. No. And I'll tell you why. There are plays where you'll see him like where Derrick Henry, he tries to tackle Derrick Henry high, and Derrick Henry just shrugs him off and goes in for a touchdown. But then there's other plays where you watch where Henry did the exact same thing to Darius Leonard, shrugged him off, and he was going off for an 81-yard touchdown run, and out of the blue, Malik Hooker comes out of nowhere, shooting out of nowhere, dives for his legs, and makes a textbook leg tackle wrap up. And that's how you tackle guys like that. And he did a good job doing that. I think Malik Hooker's been used wrong. Malik Hooker has been pushed up around the line of scrimmage too much over the past couple years, especially last year, because of the loss of certain players. There were times when Darius Leonard wasn't on the field, right? Because he had a concussion for 3 weeks he was out. Kamoko Toure didn't have the pass rush of him after week 5. So you had Malik Hooker up near the line of scrimmage a lot more, protecting against the short pass and the run. And that's not where he needs to be. He needs to be back there covering half the field or the full field and never have to worry about coming up. And I think this year, because of the guys we have, as long as we keep health, I think he will continue to do that. Teddy Belcher, I got the Colts in the playoffs. I do too, because Chicago has nowhere else to go and Indianapolis is halfway. Gotcha. I know he's a free safety, yet he was playing up near the line of scrimmage a lot, right? That's the problem. They had Corey Willis out there. They would have him, and Matt Eberflus was flipping it up, trying to disguise coverages a lot, and putting Malik Hooker near the line of scrimmage, or he would have him back, and then when the ball's hiked, he would have Malik Hooker run up to the line of scrimmage to protect short or go into man or something like that. And he was taking him completely out of what he would normally do. So I don't like that. He misses a lot of tackles, and the play on the ball isn't there. Last season was the only year that's what I'm talking. Yeah, last year was that year that he wasn't up, that he was actually on the line a lot. His tackling on the second part of the season improved dramatically. First part of the year was kind of a big learning curve for him because he was put up on the line a lot and missed some tackles. Missed quite a few. I think he missed like 8 tackles on the season, but like I believe 5 of them was in the first 6 games. So, and then he missed 3 more on the later parts of the season. He got better. So I can say that. But I seriously believe that, what he is good at is protecting the deep ball. And if he's back there protecting the deep ball like he needs to be, I think he'll be fine. And Matt Eberflus needs to use him in that way. All right, I'm sorry, guys. I'm flipping back and forth between Sportscaster and YouTube, talking and answering questions. Isaac says, nice green screen. Thanks, man. I mean, we will see what Phillip Rivers could do. I don't know how good he is. He may do good. I disagree with you. I disagree with you on Ebron because Ebron did not have the work ethic. Okay, he wasn't all in for the team. And a lot of people don't realize this behind the scenes, Isaac. I'll explain to you because you're not a Colts fan. The thing about Eric Ebron is, yeah, but go look at how many drops he's had over the 2 years he was with the Colts. It was pretty nasty. Okay, I think he was 5th in the NFL in drops in 2018. The year he had all those touchdowns with Andrew Luck, he also was 5th in the NFL in drops. Last year, he took himself, without permission from the team, put himself on IR, went to the doctor and had surgery done and said, I'm done with this year. I'm not playing anymore this year. Okay? That's the kind of guy that you're getting with Ebron, and that's why I don't want him on the team no more, because he gave up on the year without even talking with the coaches and the staff. Yes, Trey Burton, I think, is going to be a big help, Isaac. Doyle is maybe one of the best tight ends when it comes to being one of those safety blankets where you know that if you're getting under pressure real quick, he will find a little quick open spot where you can throw him the football real quick. I believe that his catch percentage, like his catchable rate percentage on catch percentages for catchable passes, I think he had 100%. I think he caught 100% of catchable passes, according to PFF, over the last 2 seasons. So Doyle's a big benefit. Plus he can run block. Eric Ebron can't run block. Never could. Autry had 9 sacks in 2018, but only had 3 sacks this year. Exactly. The fact that he had a lot of double teams last year does affect Danico Autry. And like I said earlier, Danico Autry's on the edge now, right? He's on the defensive end over there, opposite of Justin Houston. So I think that'll be able to use his speed and athleticism a little bit more. And since he is a bigger guy, I think he'll be able to hold the edge against the run a little bit as well, which is what we're going to be missing now that Jabal Sheard's gone. R.C. Holmes, I think we should have traded for Njoku from the Browns, who asked. I like Njoku, but we already gave away a number 1 pick and got DeForest Buckner, and I would have rather had DeForest Buckner over Njoku this year. Right? I mean, come on. I think our tight ends will be fine. I think a lot of people are underrating Mo Alley Cox. Okay, Mo Alley Cox is a great run blocker. Plus, he's a big, tall basketball player who has shown he can make great catches. Go a couple years back and look at that one-handed highlight catch he made in the end zone where he just reached up and palmed the ball. Oh my gosh. That was gorgeous. And I think that he'll just do better this year because because Ebron's not there. I think you'll see him quite a bit more because the Colts like to run the football, and when you run the football, you want guys who could block. I don't know how well Trey Burton blocks. So, exactly. I hear you. He is huge. Hey, that's why I'm saying he's a heck of a block. I actually posted a video on NFL Reddit about Mo Alley Cox blocking Yannick Ngakoue and Myles Garrett on the exact same play at the exact same time. Myles Garrett come around the edge, or Yannick Ngakoue came around the edge. Myles Garrett came up through the one gap, and they had met each other. And at the same time, Cox, right at the last second when he saw they were going to meet each other, he adjusted his angle so he could get a hit, an arm on both of them. Now, his guy was Yannick Ngakoue. So he didn't follow Myles, but he stopped Myles fast enough for Marlon Mack to get past him and able to shake Myles Garrett as Myles Garrett dove at Marlon Mack as he was running by him. So Mo Alley, and the thing is, he had the defensive end, Yannick Ngakoue, and Myles Garrett coming in at full speed, and when they all contacted him, he didn't budge an inch. He stood like a stone wall against two rushers coming at him at full speed. It was one of the most impressive blocks I have ever seen in my life. You should go check it out sometime. Got 14 guys watching right now. Got 9 likes. I would love some more likes on here on YouTube. I'd appreciate it a lot. Isaac says, Packers and Bears have crap tight ends. Jimmy Graham's on the Bears. But Jimmy Graham hasn't been the same Jimmy Graham since he left Seattle. Right? So, I mean, come on. And Trey Burton left the Bears, and the reason why he left was because he got that big contract after he left the Eagles because all the what he was able to do with the Eagles, you know, the Philly special that happened in the Super Bowl, and he got that big contract with the Bears, and he had an injury-prone season last year, so the Bears released him, and now he's with the Colts. Hopefully he gets to do something similar and be helpful with the Colts this year. Yeah, Burton. Like I said, Burton was injured. Stephen Benedict put that out there as well. People are underestimating Burton because of 2 seasons in Chicago. Burton's season, then the hands of Trubisky. Well, yeah, and being that he was injured, you know, I mean that didn't help at all last year. So, man, guys, I am thirsty. I'm starting to get a sore throat talking so much. Man, I love the fact all you guys are here and interacting with me. Maybe next week I'll have a special guest. I'll try to talk to somebody. Maybe I can get Zach Hicks on here with me, right? Or maybe Derek Larger will come on, or somebody, you know. I'm sure I can get a special guest on here. There's a few people out there I've reached out to that. Then there's some people I haven't reached out to. So I'll see if I can't get somebody else to be here to help, because it's really difficult. It's difficult flipping back and forth between Sportscaster and YouTube on a consistent basis. Rivers. Now, Isaac, I know you're not big on Rivers, but you got to remember, like I told these other guys, every year Rivers has any year that Rivers has had 18 or more interceptions, which has happened 3 times. The following year, he's had a Pro Bowl or All-Pro level season, right? And on top of that, last year he had the 5th worst offensive line in the NFL. Plus, those interceptions were because of the fact of him having to throw because they were so far behind in the 4th quarter of a lot of games that he was just out there trying to make something happen. And he won't have to do that with the Colts. He'll have time to throw. He'll have a run game to lean on. And, you know, he'll have a defense that'll be able to hold teams down in scoring. So, yeah, Brissett's as a backup, who wouldn't want? I mean, Brissett's a great backup. Brissett is a great backup because when he's healthy, we've seen what he can do when he's healthy. He's a good game managing quarterback that can give you a 5-2 season or 5-2 when he's healthy. Now, granted, he got hurt, and then the wide receivers got hurt, and then the passing game took a big dump, right? So. There's some things that I think Brissett needs to work on. I don't think he leads receivers really, really well. I would like to see him throw the ball more out in front of a running receiver on this route a little bit better. Also, to be able to throw a receiver open, like on a deep ball, when you got someone that's tight, one-on-one coverage deep, being able to throw it just a little bit off target on purpose so that the receiver could break off his route and go under the ball and catch it. Those are things that Rivers does very, very well, where Dorsett hasn't really quite learned that yet in what is he, like 6 years now in the NFL? We also got to remember, Rivers is an Iron Man. I don't think he's missed a game in 16 seasons, 14 seasons, something like that. You ain't going to have to worry about him getting hurt, especially when he's got an offensive line the way he does, and he's not used to having that kind of offensive line and having an extra second and a half to throw a football. Yannick Ngakoue and Myles Garrett. I said Myles Garrett. The linebacker for Jacksonville. I'm sorry. You're right. Not Myles Garrett. I apologize. You're right. I don't know why I said Garrett. Myles Jack. That's why I said Garrett, because they're both Miles. So, yeah, I'm sorry about that. RC Holmes, thanks for pointing that out. I didn't realize I kept saying Garrett all the time, but it's Myles Jack. Yeah, Kelvin, I am. My gosh. I've been live this whole time. Rivers, like Brady and Manning and other statue quarter, have high interceptions behind bad or over. Yeah. You need an offensive line, right? Especially solid up the gut, because quarterbacks have to be able to step up into a pop when you don't have scrambling ability. Even Jacoby Brissett has scrambling ability. He's not very fast, but he's able to shake off tackles and be able to move, which is a big benefit. Phillip Rivers don't have that, right? And so his best ability is to be able to step up and move to side in the pocket. And you can't do that unless you have a solid interior. And, I mean, the Colts got a pretty solid interior. You could call Mark Glowinski the weak link, and he's still an above-average offensive lineman. And when your weak link is above average, that's saying something. You got a pretty damn good offensive line, right? So that's my thought on it. And don't take away, Mark Glowinski is a powerhouse in the run game blocking. He is a powerhouse. When he gets his hands on you, he moves people with no problem. So even though he's an average to an above average offensive lineman in pass blocking, he's very good to very good run blocking, which is a lot of people don't want to give him credit for that. Desert Rover plus wide receivers will get open. Mike Williams has a hard time getting open with the Chargers. Gave him time behind the line, picked people apart. Yeah, Belichick. Yeah, exactly. The receivers weren't able to get open over in the Chargers, right? They didn't give Rivers enough time. The offensive line didn't give Rivers enough time for plays and routes to fully develop and get open downfield, whereas this offensive line is going to. And then with the run game that the Colts have, defense is going to have to respect that play action. Defenses have to respect that play action. And if they try to stack the box, Rivers is going to kill them. I'm telling you, as long as T.Y. Hilton, Paris Campbell, Michael Pittman Jr., and Zach Pascal are all healthy, and honestly, I'll have to put Naheem Hines in that list too, because occasionally you'll see him go out there as a slot receiver or something, or come out running back out of the backfield. Those are good receivers. All of them are good receivers. So I think there's a lot of people out there that's sleeping on this team. All right. So, I don't know how long I've been live. What are we sitting here? We're sitting here almost an hour? Holy crap. Guys, thank you so much. You guys are doing an awesome job keeping me in line, keeping me busy talking. I want to talk about one more thing that I haven't really got to talk about, and it's not necessarily Colts related, but it is Colts related. As you know, the Indianapolis Colts, or maybe you don't know, the Indianapolis Colts hasn't had one positive COVID test since the early initial testings happened. And that's saying a lot for the team itself, right? Being able to be responsible enough not to go out in the public and do things that might hinder the team long term, or their families for that matter, right? That means that guys like Phillip Rivers going home to his wife and 11 kids or something, and his family is not even, going out and doing stuff to contact it and pass it on to him, where in which he'll pass it on to the team. Apparently, there are only 22 people right now in the NFL that are on the COVID list out of 32 teams and 80 people on 32 teams. All right? So that's like a ton of people. Well over 300 people in the NFL. And that's including refs, coaches, staff members, stuff like that haven't, only 22 have contacted this. The NFL, in my opinion, that shows that the NFL has got the right precautions in place to help keep these teams healthy and safe without having to bubble the entire teams. So that helps a lot. Their entire whole situation like that is great. Now, obviously, players are, your top end health people. They're out working out all the time, so they're peak health condition. If they do catch it, there's odds are that nothing terrible is going to come out of it. Even Von Miller, who had caught it, has asthma, and is out there right now practicing, and everything's good. But that don't mean that still they can still catch this stuff. Even if they are peak physical shape, they don't want to take this stuff back home to their family. They don't want to catch it and give it to the players next to them. Or their coaches. Could you imagine their coaches catching it? A lot of these coaches are older guys with bad heart conditions and breathing problems and stuff like that. So you don't want to give that to your coaches and stuff either. Excuse me. All right, guys. So thanks a lot. I appreciate everyone on Sportscaster and YouTube being here. NFL players are young and healthy. Yeah, I get that. They are a little risk of the serious illness, but you still don't want to. Like I said, you still don't want to give it to the other players. You don't want to have to. It's just like you wouldn't want to give your best friend the flu, right? You wouldn't want to go give your coach the flu or your sister the flu or something like that. COVID's worse than the flu, so you definitely don't want to give it to somebody who has these issues. But hey, thank you everybody. Thank you. Everyone on Sportscaster. I really appreciate Desert Rover and Isaac Sports on Sportscaster. Love you guys over here interacting with me in the live chat. On YouTube, I want to thank Eagle Season, John Danemark, Ty Shelby, Reese KFN, RC Holmes, Teddy Belcher, Stephen Benedict, Kelvin Beatty, all you guys, awesome. Love you all. Thanks so much. Don't forget, hit the like button. Hit the subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And share this with like Twitter and YouTube and wherever else that you got social media. That way other people could see. Help me out with my exposure. I really appreciate it. And until next week, definitely next week, every Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll see you guys then. And until then, as usual, I'm Lawrence Owen with Colts Law. Have a good one.
just because a player's not a household name doesn't mean we can't make him a household name.